You know what I was thinking about you musically? Like I was thinking about like when I was, really when I was in high school and college and stuff, I was consumed with rock stars and music and all that.
Yeah.
And there was this great camaraderie between musicians. Like you'd read about, hey, Jimi Hendrix just came on the scene. So Clapton calls up The Who and they get in touch with Graham Nash and they all go to, something like that. And they all go out and listen together. Like all of these bands were sort of feeding off one another. The whole scene up in California with
so the Troubadours like Harry Nilsson and John
yeah,
Lennon
and you read about those nights. And then like I was reading about like you hang out sometimes with Adele or this one or that one. Is it the same kind of thing, or do you feel more isolated as a musician now?
I feel like a big way that it's changed is that back then I feel like everyone kind of just felt like really grateful to be getting to make music as a job.
Right.
And I feel like it's just a lot more competitive now. And maybe I think it was that competitive then, but it was more competitive about like writing songs. Like someone told me a story about how like Joni Mitchell and, Crosby, Stills and Nash and stuff, there's all these different songs like Bob Dylan, all that stuff, where there was one party that they all went to and there's like 8 different songs by a bunch of different ones of them, all about the same party, and they were like, well, my song about you is better than your song about her, and her song about me is better than...
Yeah, well, it's almost like painters. When they used to, in the old days, they would all hang out together, like the Hudson River painters and all those guys. They would all paint and learn and kind of hang. They'd even paint the same scene sometimes to see how they kind of perceived it. Right. I don't sense that the music scene is as much fun like that. You don't go to, Graham Nash and Joni go shopping one day together, and then and then he writes Our House. Right. I don't get that sense.
I feel like it's maybe just it's like feels a little more like a business for a lot of people a lot of the time.
Right.
And I feel like back then you wrote a song for one reason, and then if it went number one, that was like amazing.
Right.
I don't feel like people were. And maybe I'm wrong because I, wasn't live, so I could be completely wrong. But it doesn't feel like people were going, let's change this chorus a bit because then it can be like a number one smash.
Yeah, it was a different vibe, at least from my perception from being around a while. Like I was even reading, I never knew the band Mazzy Star. Did you know them?
A little bit. Just a couple big ones, but the guy just died.
The guy just died, and I'm reading about him. The guy's whole attitude was like, we put together a band. We didn't even fucking care about success. We didn't care about a record deal. We just wrote, and when their song became a hit, the guy was like, oh, so what? I'm not writing for that reason. Seemed like a different kind of business, I
also think like obviously it's changed a lot because of like streaming and everything like that, but I think a lot of the time now, like I guess back then if you loved someone's show or their music, you might go to a show and hang out and stuff, and now I guess there's just a lot of people like that feel involved a lot of the time. So if you're like, oh, I really like this song, then suddenly people are like, well, you guys should collaborate and get in the studio together. And it becomes like, it's not like an organic hangout. It becomes your kind of, people trying to like put you together.
Right.
So when it happens and it's like organic and you run into people and you get on and end up hanging out, and if you play music or not, most of the time you probably don't. It's really nice. But
well, are you working on something with Adele? Is there a collaboration there? It seems to be a rumor around that you're working on something with her.
I feel like that's just any time two musicians hang out.
Right.
Either they're dating or they're recording together. Right?
Yeah. Do you like writing with other people? Have you ever, do you ever say to Stevie Nicks, hey, Stevie, let's sit down and write a couple of fucking tunes together?
Haven't said that.
Why not? Why can't you do that, Harry?
I feel
he
like...
doesn't want to stay up all night.
Well, that's true, too. And she'll want to hang out with that coven.
She's like, okay, let's start at 8 a.m.
I was kind of shocked how well you did on Saturday Night Live as a host.
Oh, thanks.
I thought your monologue particularly went well when you were sitting at the piano and things like that.
Good.
Yeah, you seem to be pretty comfortable. And then you did the movie Dunkirk. Is that the goal, too, to do movies and act?
I think, like, if there's stuff that I really want to do and it kind of sounds like I just really want to be involved in it, then I'd love to do it. I don't see myself like wanting to go get a movie because I have like a year off and I want something to do. But if when I heard about Dunkirk, it was like,
do you take acting lessons?
I go through a script with someone and kind of work on things. Yeah, it's
dangerous to do that, right?
Yeah. Well, they told me not to when I got the Dunkirk thing. Yeah. Like when I got it, they said, don't take anything because we don't want it to be like actory, but.
Yeah, but not being an actor, you don't even know what that means. You're like, what do you mean not be actor? I'm acting. I mean, don't I need to develop this skill?
Yeah, so I mean, it was good, I guess, because the character, I was like a young soldier who didn't know what he was doing, and every day on set I had literally no idea what I was doing. But it was kind of one of those things where like I learned the script, I learned what my lines were, but I never practiced them. I didn't like say them out loud.
Because it can get stale?
Yeah, I think someone had told me, like, just say the words as if it's the first time you're saying them. And I was like, I'm just going to make it the first time I'm saying them. So
yeah,
I didn't really practice.
When I did my movie, I was like, I said to the guy who was producing, Ivan Reitman, I said to him, Ivan, don't I need to go take some acting lessons or something? He says, no, don't fucking take a lesson. I don't want you doing that. And so the first day I got on the set, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I did not know that you even had to memorize your lines. Like, I was like, I'm going to ad lib here.
Right.
So in a way, though, I get what they're saying, but I do think you need a certain amount of that, I guess.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you want to be like comfortable enough in case they make changes and stuff.
Right.
But I think a lot of the time when people like go over and over and over lines, is you get stuck one way of saying stuff.
Were you
and
intimidated
by the scene? It's different, and you don't really know how to change it. So I kind of just tried to go at it as like.
Were you intimidated by the so-called real actors, people who've been training and doing all this stuff when you walk on the set? Or you're like, oh, shit, they all know what they're doing, and I'm an amateur, you know?
Yeah, definitely. But then it was also just the size of the set, and I was a massive fan of Chris Nolan before. So the whole thing was really intimidating. Like the first day on set, walk out, and there's like some destroyer marine ship in the water, and I was like, is that for us? And they're like, yes. And I was like, oh, shit, this is like a real movie.
This is like a real movie. And they're depending on me to come through in this scene. It's a lot of pressure.
It was really fun.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What about Saturday Night Live, though? When you go out there and you're the host and you first walk out to do the monologue, are you shaking inside? Because you're not being Harry Styles, the musician.
Right.
You're not being Harry Styles, the actor. You're being Harry Styles.
Right.
You seemed to me to be very calm. I didn't sense any quivering in your voice or when you were delivering that monologue. What is that?
The thing with SNL was, I feel like I used to get so nervous before we would do anything. And to the point where, like, I used to be so nervous that I'd almost always just be really disappointed with something because I just thought I was too nervous or my hand was shaking or something like that. And
you mean after you get done, you'd say, I sucked because I was too
like
uptight.
A lot of the time, yeah. And SNL, I don't really know why. I think maybe just because so much of the time you go on a show and you sit backstage for 3 hours for 3 minutes and you go out and it's like, okay, you finish the album, now you're selling the album. Let's go. This is the 3 minutes. Don't mess it up. Here we go. And SNL, like, you're there for the week. You've rehearsed everything. Ultimately, everything's written on the cards. So, like,
do you take part in the writing of the comedy? Do you actually sit there and
you go in like all the writing sessions and stuff and make like little tweaks and stuff? But I mean, they're all so amazing over there. But,
you like doing it?
Yeah, SNL was like the calmest I've been probably for anything I've done, which was really nice.
And you're not really from a showbiz family, right? What did your mother do for?
She was like an executive assistant.
Right.
Like an insurance company.
And your dad was what?
My dad worked in finance.
It's crazy, isn't it? That like you had the showbiz bug. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
You know? They must be freaked out.
They're pretty great. My mom is like very chilled about the whole thing. They just like get it. I think it's difficult because so many people kind of have that they have like pushy parents and that kind of thing, and they just kind of always stayed out of it.
Do you do that thing where you start making money and you buy them a big house or something like that?
My mom moved, yeah.
Yeah. It's nice to be able to do that for your mother,
right?
It
is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think ultimately, like, those people have like looked after you your entire life and still now. And, especially with my mum, like I wouldn't be here if she hadn't put me in for the thing. And when I moved to London for the show, she lent me some money to, go and buy a bunch of clothes and stuff.
Good return on her investment.
Yeah.
I didn't understand.